Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bocce Piles channel with some more legacy content for you. It is going to be the Temur Rhinos today. So on this version, well, I've played Murktide Regent in like 6 Spirit Guides in the past. We're going to be on the Hullbreachers and some Endurances in the main deck, and Magus of the Moon in the sideboard, and Minsc and Boo. So one thing I wanted to do was optimize for the Ancient Tomb matchup, wherein I think you really want Brotherhood's End and Fury well, I guess I'm out on Force of Vigor. So there's just not very many matchups where I think you really want to be Force of Vigoring. Like Lands and Painter are pretty much it. And like Goblins and Initiative are pretty big deals. And so I did want this third Minsc and Boo somewhere in the 75. It's just a problem against Chalice of the Void decks, where Force of Vigor in particular is not very good, like against Goblins. Like they're rushing you with some sticker Goblins and whatnot, and if you have to load up on Force of Vigors, it's just not very good. I mean, I suppose Force of Vigor is also good in the Initiative, the mono-red Prison Stompy matchup, I mean. But Fury and Brotherhood's End are good there too. And so, just since we're not going to have as many free answers to Chalice of the Void, I did want another bomby permanent like Minsc and Boo. And so, yeah, we just have a bunch of different bombs. Like Murktide Regent, I think, is good, but it's a more up-the-middle card. So we got like these Hullbreachers and Endurances in the main deck. And, we are playing 3 Wastelands, but I am going to play the basic Mountain, which should help cast these Brotherhood's Ends in the sideboard. And we'll see how 3 Wasteland fares as opposed to 4. All right, let's get to it. All right, so we've opened up a pretty good hand, but it just lacks the initial mana source. We are in the draw. It has Force of Will and Endurance. All right, I guess we need to be able to play Magic here. So we're going to mulligan. All right, this hand looks more reasonable. And I guess I'm just going to throw back a Force of Negation. All right. Dragon's Rage from the opponent. All right, so some kind of Delver deck. Another land. Suppose it's not the worst. Like fetching the basic forest is okay here. And then we can play this fire. Like maybe they play like a Delver of Secrets and we get to set up a 2-for-1. They just pass the turn though. Well, I'll just take the draw at this point. We draw another land, okay? So I guess on their upkeep here, I'm gonna fire their Dragon's Rage Channeler. And if they want to use a Daze, we've got 3 and 4 drops that we want to play, so we'll live with it. They do wish to Daze, and they surveil a Wasteland into the graveyard. Okay. We shan't pay. All right, we're going to take 1 from this attack here, and what would be ideal is to draw a blue card. Or an Elvish Spirit Guide. Or Hullbreacher. Well, that's a blue card. So I guess I might as well play the Taiga and protect my blue source. That's going to preclude the option of Hullbreachering. That's not super likely to resolve anyway, and I would like to play this Violent Outburst. Alright, I guess I'm going to save the Hullbreacher to pitch to Force of Negation. And, yeah, I guess I'm going to fire this off here with the Force backup. That's what we are trying to do. Alright, the Cascade trigger is being put on the stack here. Playing some Footfalls. So they are forcing and not dazing. They are the Grixis. It's fine with me. Orcish Bowmaster not doing a lot against us. Okay, well the Rhinos are in. So if we can fade Wasteland here, they're probably out of counter magic and we'll get to load up with this Minsc and Boo. Molten Collapse. Okay, so they get to destroy a Rhino. And attack for 3 here. They do have the Wasteland. Alright. Well, I think I played this okay. So like Endurance, Spirit Guide, Land. I mean, most of the draws here are fine. Yep, that's a draw. We'll get in for 4. Then we get to reload with this Shardless Agent. So hopefully we can fade Daze for another turn here, and we do. And now we've got 14 power on the board. And they're at 14. And there's the concession. Nice. So I guess the only thing about this configuration is the sideboarding is... No, the sideboarding does work out. Yeah, I've got 5 cards I want to bring out and 5 cards I want to bring in. I mean, Hullbreacher is just a little questionable in this matchup. But I definitely want Force of Negation and Minsc and Boo out. Happy to be loaded up on Furies and Endurances. I mean, we could make Hullbreacher like Brotherhood's End or something. Or Magus of the Moon. I guess we'll accept the cheese factor of Hullbreacher. Alright, well this hand has lands and spells. So I'm going to lead on the Volcanic Island. If this gets Wastelanded, we at least have a Simian Spirit Guide. And we want to get to double green to get an Endurance out there. Okay. So I'll just play the Volcanic Island and pass here. Brainstorm from the opponent. Too bad I don't have Hullbreacher. Crack Strand. There's a Dragon's Rage. Alright, so we're going to want to fire this on our turn. And we've got an answer for Daze. Could answer 2 Dazes, even. I guess I'll get the Tropical Island. Ooh, there's a Violent Outburst. Well, that's a good one, too. We're kind of lousy with good options here. Do I just want to fire and try to get this Dragon's Rage Channeler off the board? Or I could just Violent Outburst. I think it's fine to start with a fire and see what they want to do. We just have bomb after bomb after bomb coming here, which is just where we want to be. And I guess I don't see a reason to commit Spirit Guides to the board yet. Yeah, I want to waste my Tropical Island. Well, Wasteland is maybe... a reason to have gone for the bigger thing. But I guess I'm just going to Violent Outburst here. I mean, I could Endurance. You know, I think I am going to Endurance and shrink their graveyard. And we're going to need to use this double green to play Endurance since we got wasted off the Tropical Island. They just don't have any Dazes or anything. But the Endurance doesn't eat it to Spell Pierce and is also very good on this board position. Whereas the Violent Outburst could be hit by a Spell Pierce, or a Flusterstorm. Another Elvish Spirit Guide. I cannot complain about that too much. I'm going to attack with the Endurance. And now I'm just looking for a spot to play this Violent Outburst. The opponent's maybe just flooding out over there. Alright, well, I suppose this is as good a spot as any. Alright, here comes some Crashing Footfalls. You gotta think there's some kind of answer coming here. Hard cast Force of Negation. Okay. Well, what I'd really like to draw is a land. There it is. So we'll attack with the Endurance. And then we shall Violent Outburst again and see what happens. We get the Taiga there, so we have another Endurance coming, regardless of what the opponent does. Okay, another Force of Negation, and it's pitching their Murktide Regent. Okay. Well, they could, in theory, get a 5/5 Murktide Regent if they crack their Misty here and tap out. I mean, Murktide costs 7. But I don't really want to Endurance, like pitch cast Endurance here. I think I'll just have to let them gum up the board if they do play Murktide Regent. Okay, it looks like that's not the plan, though. Okay, Fury. This might be a game where we play Fury if things keep going this way. So we can Endurance them on the upkeep here. A Lightning Bolt, okay. Well, that would indicate that, I mean, Murktide Regent must be the plan. Although you'd think they would have been happy to settle for a 5/5 last turn. Okay, there's the concession. Okay, we won the die roll. We'll play first. Our opponent does not have any legacy finishes. This is a fine hand. We have some interaction of varying varieties and the mana to play Cascader. All right, my opponent decides to keep after a little bit of a wait. It just may be the double Q there from the opponent, so I'll be waiting. You'll be watching. Okay, we'll play the Wooded Foothills and pass. All right, Polluted Delta and Crack from the opponent. Is it another Delver opponent? Maybe it's just a blue-black scam. Or maybe it's more like Storm combo. Do they play Thoughtseize and Dimir scam? Well, some versions certainly could, but I don't think they do. In any case, my opponent Thoughtseizes away the Violent Outburst. So they're more concerned about the Rhinos than the Force of Will, which suggests that this is probably a fair deck, and so you'd have to think it's the Dimir scam. Or, you know, a relatively fair deck at any rate is probably how you would describe Dimir scam. You draw a Hullbreacher. So, do I want to Wasteland my opponent here? I'd kind of rather get to 3 mana. Yeah, I don't think I have to Wasteland my opponent. I'm not like pressuring them in any meaningful way. Probably better just to hold up here. Wastelanding them will be much better, you know, after we have a threat in play. If I was suspending Rhinos, I think that would be a fine place to Wasteland the opponent. But they don't know about this Hullbreacher. And so we might be able to force through a Hullbreacher and see who the real, you know, scam deck is. Okay, well, we found the Crashing Footfalls, and so I think I do need to go ahead and suspend this. Sadly, that takes us off the Hullbreacher. So I probably am going to Wasteland my opponent now that the Crashing Footfalls has been suspended. Okay. Are they going to play an Orcish Bowmaster? That would be my guess. Yep, well, that does not matter at all. I think I am going to Wasteland my opponent here. All right, so the opponent has gone straight into their attack step here. We're going down to 16. And they're playing another Thoughtseize. Well, they're going to find out about the Hullbreacher. They settle for the Brazen Borrower, though. Okay, and they want to Wasteland me. Or they're going to play Wasteland at any rate. Okay, yeah, and so obviously they did use Wasteland. We draw another mana. So that's cool. So them taking Brazen Borrower suggests that they want to resolve Murktide Regent. But Endurance and Force of Will are good against the Murktide Regent that they probably want to resolve. All right, they ponder and find a Polluted Delta. And it's another ponder. Okay, so they did choose to shuffle off that ponder. Rhinos are on 2. Elvish Spirit Guide. So do I want to try to resolve Endurance here? I could wait until their end step. I mean, if they just play Murktide Regent, it's pretty... They need Force of Will backup for it. I could just... I don't know. I don't really like the idea of just tapping out right now and giving them a clear coast to play Murktide Regent. So probably I'm going to do the end step here. Dothy Voidwalker. Well, now they're starting to threaten me with an actual clock. So I'm going to get the Taiga. That leaves Tropical Island in our deck to be fetched by Lorien Revealed. And then I'm going to play this here, Endurance, and see what happens. The daze from the opponent. Well, I'm going to... I think I have to force back here. Alright, so daze resolved. Now I've shuffled their graveyard away. They have a snuff out though. Still get to shuffle their graveyard. So the Rhinos still have another turn to go. We're not winning the race. Although I suppose if the Rhinos resolve, we might be in an okay spot. Because we can... Well, they'll attack us down to 2. We're going to need something else. Another Dothy Voidwalker. Well, in that case, we're just dead. We would need to draw Fire and Ice. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to do this right now. So they can attack us down to 2. They probably just won't attack with their Bowmasters, so we need another answer for the other Dothy Voidwalker. Brazen Borrower, Fire and Ice. I mean, those would be the draws, I would say. Yeah, so we're going to 2 here. So I think that maybe just wastelanding their land this game was never correct. I mean, they would have been able to advance their game plan faster. But if we had had an extra mana, well, I guess I'll attack with the Rhinos and let them chump block. We could have played the Shardless Agent a turn sooner. I mean, I guess I'll play this Shardless Agent and make them attack me down to -1 here. So we put Crashing Footfalls on the stack. And, I mean, the opponent's pretty unlikely to forget to attack here, but you never know. Okay, there it is. Okay, so for the blue-black scam, I don't really like Force of Negation. I suppose Endurance is only kind of okay. Now, Fury could take out, like, a Dothy Voidwalker. Endurance does protect our own graveyard from surgical extraction. Well, Magus of the Moon's also probably pretty good as well. I mean, I think it does tend to be worth boarding in these matchups. I mean, I could just board out Force of Will. And I mean, getting Minsc and Boo discarded while they have Dothy Voidwalker in play seems pretty bad. Getting our Fury discarded and reanimated also seems pretty bad. Brotherhood's End. What do I want to do with these last 2 slots? I mean, Fury would have been difficult to cast in that last game. What do I want to do here? We'll have 30 seconds and ticking to decide. I think I'll just try the 2 copies of Fury, as long as I'm bringing in the Magus of the Moon. Well, I'll bring in 1 Magus and the 3rd Minsc and Boo. These are things I can play under the Blood Moon fairly easily. Alright, this is a good looking hand with mana. Turn 1 Crashing Footfalls. Alright, we can fetch all our basics, as long as we fetch responsibly, but we can get them out in the island. In any case, you get the basic forest, spend Crashing Footfalls, and we'll see what the opponent's got here. Polluted Delta. And Thoughtseize. They do take the Violent Outburst. Okay, another Cascader is certainly a fine draw. So yeah, we play the Misty here, so we're holding up Petty Theft. And then, I mean, I guess I could have just jammed the Shardless Agent there. But I was thinking I want to play it next turn around Daze. But maybe I should have just jammed it. Then they'd be at least set back on a mana. Yeah, I should have just jammed the Shardless Agent there. Well, let's see what their play is. Nothing. Okay, well, now I'm happy I did what I did. I'm going to wait until my turn. And then this way, if we're getting Oppo Agented, we can dance around it. I mean, pretty unlikely, but you don't want to lose to Opposition Agent. Okay. Well, here's a Shardless Agent. What do we have, opponent? All right, Crashing Footfalls are on the stack. They have Force of Will, pitching Murky Reach. All right, fair enough. I mean, one good thing about suspending Crashing Footfalls is Surgical on my Crashing Footfalls is a lot worse. I mean, it would really just be, they would be paying 2 life to do nothing and losing a card if they Surgical my Crashing Footfalls from here. Rhinos are on 1. More lands. So I'm just going to add Elvish Spirit Guide to the board here. All right, Spirit Guide is in. Opponent's going to crack a Delta. And are we getting a Murky Rege? A Grief. All right, well, they get to take my Brazen Borrower. All right, I'm going to be fetching to thin here. I guess I'll get the Volcanic Island. Crashing Footfalls on the stack. So do they have another force effect here? They don't. Hullbreacher is a fine one. They choose not to block. Here's the Brainstorm, and here's a Hullbreacher. All right, the opponent thinks for a moment and then concedes. So I think the boarding out Force of Wills against the slow Thoughtseize deck definitely worked out pretty well. I mean, Brotherhood's End could be a good sweeper here, but like if they get, some Griefs and Dothy Voidwalkers out, but we usually end up having a bunch of 2/2s out also. So I don't think this is the matchup for it. Yeah, I think I'll just run it back the same way. Okay, well, this hand has mana. It has the turn 1 Shardless Agent. It doesn't get discarded from our hand. So I think it's worth running. But otherwise, we have some answers to Dothy Voidwalkers and whatnot. If they want a 2-for-1 themselves and play some Griefs or something, then that's cool. Endurance. I think I'd like to not use all my Spirit Guides. And so I'm going to pass the turn here and just Lorien Revealed. Opponent's going to Troll Cycle. That's cool. Okay, and the opponent's going to Dothy Voidwalker. So I'm going to Island Cycle in response here. Get the Tropical Island. Let the Dothy Voidwalker resolve. And then just fire it. Ooh, they're pitching Grief. Okay. They can 2-for-1 themselves. It's a bit of a decision for our opponent. I mean, I guess it's either Shardless Agent or Endurance. But these fires, I definitely want to fire this Dothy Voidwalker. If we cascade out some Rhinos, they just get to play their own, sacrifice Dothy Voidwalker to play their own copy of Crashing Footfalls. And they do take Endurance. Another Cascader is probably not bad. But let's get this Dothy Voidwalker off the board. Means they can play like a 3/3 Murktide here. None of that's too threatening. We should be able to run some Cascaders here. I guess the best draw here would be a Mana Source. Or maybe an Endurance. But I mean, don't really want to pitch cast Endurance here, but that might be okay. Another Dothy Voidwalker. Yeah, I'd be happy to draw a land. Okay, well, that's not quite a land. But I am just going to fire the Dothy Voidwalker. If they want to force this, that's cool. Obviously, we can pay for days. I mean, I could go all in on the Violent Outburst here. But it sure loses to days. Reanimate on Grief. So I could go all in on Violent Outburst here. I don't think that makes sense. I'll just let them discard a Cascader. And then we can play the other Cascader next turn. They do take Violent Outburst. That's interesting. Cycle the Troll of Khazad-dûm. So the last card, something spicy, like Murktide Regent. It looks like it might be an engineered explosives for 0. Okay, well that's a little spicy. Ooh, Magus of the Moon. It's not a bad one. So I could just Magus of the Moon here and we're winning the race. We're missing the Shardless Agent, so I could just... Yeah, I guess I'm gonna try to make it a turn without playing the Magus, although the Magus wins the game like right now. We're winning this race and it's just their swamp. I could play another Spirit Guide next turn. Alright, I think I am just going to play the Magus here. And we'll see what they can do. But this sure shuts off a lot of their deck. They reanimate a Troll of Khazad-dûm. I mean, that's bad news, but they have to hit exactly that. They did not. And otherwise, we're just winning this race. So. Okay. It's a land. Okay. Got 4 power on the board. Okay, they drew another land. Are they going to decline to attack? They are. We draw another land. I guess I can attack with a Simian Spirit Guide, and if they want to trade, then that's cool. This doesn't have first strike or anything. All right, they just draw and pass the turn. Hullbreacher, okay. So just unfortunately, I pitched my Simian Spirit Guide thinking that I'd want the Elvish Spirit Guide for green mana under this Magus of the Moon. But obviously just another threat that I could deploy would have been better. You live and you learn. The opponent just passes it back. I guess I'll go ahead and suspend this Crashing Footfalls. This game might be drawing itself out for a bit here. They do take out this Magus of the Moon. This Hullbreacher as backup is definitely exciting. Another thing we can scam them with. All right, Rhinos are down to 3 here. The Spirit Guide beatdown continues. All right, well, the opponent's doing something with their black mana over there, so that's a little scary. Okay, they settled on a reanimate on their Dothy Voidwalker. I don't think that affects... Okay, so what they can do is use the Dothy Voidwalker to play one of my spells from exile here and kill the Magus of the Moon. Okay. Well, I'll make them do that. Definitely attack with a Simian Spirit Guide. Okay, they're going to trade with the Grief. And then, yeah, I imagine they'll use the Dothy Voidwalker to pick off this Magus of the Moon. They could play Endurance instead. Thoughtseize. Well, that's a bummer, but they do go to 1 life. Yeah, they predictably take the Hullbreacher there. What are they going to do with this Voidwalker? So they're not going to attack. So they're going to need to do something here to kill it. Ooh, Minsc and Boo is a good draw. Yeah, so I'll attack here. I expect they'll pick off the Minsc and Boo. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to play Endurance to kill my Magus of the Moon. Makes sense. All right, they shuffle in my graveyard. I guess it would have been smarter just to not attack. I guess that was pretty obvious. So that's not my best. All right, so I've got 6 mana. So we're going to try this Magus, or this Minsc Boo. So I can just ping my opponent for 1 here. I definitely want the forest. All right, well, we'll try this Minsc Boo, and so if I go to just fling the Minsc Boo right away, they can use Engineered Explosives. Okay, they have Hardcast Force of Will. We're passing the turn back. It's a little scary. But we do have Rhinos coming down next turn. They can use the Engineered Explosives on that, but then we have the other wave of Rhinos all set up here. The opponent can't use that fetch land. Dothy Voidwalker, sure. Ponder. All right, so the opponent shuffled off that Ponder. So I need to Wasteland my opponent's Underground Sea here, I believe. Then they only have colorless mana this turn, and they can't Engineered Explosives on my turn. And I guess I should have Wastelanded them. I didn't have a way to Minsc Boo and Wasteland them off the 5th mana for Force of Will because it all had to happen in my 2nd main. Oh, they're Wastelanding me. Okay, well that works out well. So now they have to wait until their turn to do the Engineered Explosives. Although I guess if they had done it in my upkeep, that would have been... They had popped off the Engineered Explosives. I could have reloaded right away, where now we're going to want to sit around a bit. It's a little unfortunate. Another Hullbreacher. Okay, that might not be terrible. See what they want to do here. Maybe they'll play Brainstorm. And Hullbreacher can do its noble work. But I guess they can just sacrifice their Dothy Voidwalker. They get a Fire and Ice to kill it. But that at least would deal with the Dothy Voidwalker. Okay, they're popping the Engineered Explosives now. That works for me. I'm not sure what the advantage of doing it now is. Going to 9. Okay, they want to use the Voidwalker right now. Oh, and they have Crashing Footfalls is exiled, I see. With a void counter on it. Dang, that's bad. Well, I'm gonna play Hullbreacher. All right, the Hullbreacher's in. Come on, Fire and Ice. Lorien Revealed. That doesn't quite do it here, but can at least play Shardless Agent, and we're not losing. All right, Crashing Footfalls is on the stack. My opponent can't play Force of Will. Daze does nothing. I mean, maybe they've got a Force of Negation here. All right, the Rhinos resolve, and Shardless Agent is in. Opponent has Grief. I guess I might as well Island Cycle the Lorien Revealed in response. The opponent's in a bit of a precarious position. Shardless Agent. Okay, that's probably not a terrible one. I mean, I believe I have one more copy of Crashing Footfalls in the deck. Sure do. This still can't be Force of Willed. Could even pay for a Flusterstorm. Oh, they do have Force of Negation, though, pitching Dress Down. Alright, well, we still have enough power on the board to attack and win next turn if they don't add to the board somehow here. I guess I'm going to fetch to thin. Lorien Revealed, huh? And well, Orcish Bowmaster sure would be a beating. I guess I'm just going to attack with a squad. I mean, and hope that it's good. And then if that doesn't work, then we'll find out what their last card is and Lorien Revealed into it. All right, well, I gave my opponent a free endurance there. Although, if I hadn't attacked with the Magus of the Moon that one turn, I would have had to, like, they probably would have fired the Magus of the Moon on my end step. And then I don't get to play the Magus of the Moon until next turn. I'm not sure how bad that is. But Magus of the Moon and Hullbreacher were pretty good here. Although Blood Moon, the opponent wouldn't have been able to destroy. But the body of Magus of the Moon was good there. So, I don't know. The 2/2 body was okay. But I could have also made things easier by not exiling that Simian Spirit Guide and just realizing the plan was to play Simian Spirit Guide and more 2/2s. Okay, on the draw for round 3. This doesn't look like the most powerful hand, but I mean, it does have a Cascader and some kind of interaction. Since we're on the draw, hopefully we draw more cards that do something. So the opponent's playing a Wasteland and pass. I'm sure that they're going to cycle a Lorien Revealed. We, of course, instantly draw another land. Alright, I'll play Wooded Foothills. I can grab our basic forest. Well, we'll see what they grab off this Lorien Revealed. Or, okay, maybe... okay, well, the opponent just does nothing there. It's pretty surprising. I'll get my basic forest. Draw our own Wasteland. I mean, I could Wasteland them. I gotta think this Violent Outburst and their upkeep, though, is pretty good. Okay, well, let's see what happens here. I don't know if the opponent is on like a turbo depth strategy or something. Those decks play Wasteland. Or maybe they have Lorien Revealed or the Troll of Khazad-dûm, but just forgot to use it. Force pitching Ponder, okay. Or maybe it's just a Delver deck and they kept a Wasteland draw. Okay, more lands is not awesome here. Well, I guess I want my mana under me and the ability to play around days. So I'm just playing another land rather than a fetch land and setting up for like a fetch to thin. All right, we're passing it back here. Another fetch land and a pass. So they're not on Rhinos, but with playing that Ponder there. Here's a Minsc Boo. Do I want to just jam that or try to play around days? I mean, the opponent must be playing days, right? So we'll just wait another turn here. All right. Well, at least we drew one non-land card. Okay, so I'm going to play out the Wooded Foothills here. We're going to crack some fetches. And I guess just Tropical Island and Volcanic Island are fine here. And we'll see what happens when I play this Minsc and Boo. So are they just going to Lightning Bolt my Minsc and Boo in response to the trigger? They are. Still get a 1/1. All right, we're on the board. Beaten down with this Boo token. Opponent's at 18. All right, the opponent's cracking a Tarn, so maybe we're going to get some action here. And I guess Seek the Beast would get them back into this game pretty effectively. But they aren't on Seek the Beast mana. It is Endurance, though. Okay, so I guess it's just a... They targeted themselves with Endurance. But I guess it's some kind of mid-range Temur pile, and that's cool. I like to play those kinds of things. Hopefully we draw something besides a land here at some point, though. I mean, we did hit the one Minsc and Boo, but come on, deck, it's time. Yeah, they're wastelanding me. I'm fine with that. I have plenty of mana. I'm going to be wastelanding them. Violent Outburst. Okay. That's not a bad one. I'm just going to look for a spot for this Violent Outburst. I guess I'm going to... See, I don't know if they're playing Stifle. Which you'd really want to wasteland them in the upkeep if they're playing Stifle. It looks like they're not. All right, well, I'm going in with this Violent Outburst. All right, what's going to happen with this Crashing Footfalls? A Spell Pierce. Dang. All right. Okay. This is a man after my own heart playing some kind of Grove Temur pile. I mean, I think these decks are cool. The one thing is that another land. That's awesome. Is that they really don't do anything against the, you know, Ancient Tomb decks, the initiative. Well, we're going to be icing Endurance on their turn. And hoping to draw something besides a land. Okay. So they play another Grove and pass. You know, unfortunately, we can get our Shardless Agent Force of Willed. Well, the Crashing Footfalls that will cascade into, I suppose, is the real issue. And I suppose I should have attacked here first. That was silly. I'm getting frustrated about drawing lands every turn. But here's the Crashing Footfalls. They're going to hard cast Force of Will, I'd have to imagine. Yep. And they endurance themselves. So should I endurance myself? Get these Crashing Footfalls back in the deck? I mean, that's all three. I mean, Murktide would be unfortunate, but I think I have to do this on me here. But at least I have a blocker for their endurance. Ponder. They chose to shuffle. They play at Wooded Foothills, so I guess they're drawing lands too. They want to attack with their endurance. So maybe they have the P-Fire. So if I take it, I go to 8. I think I should just take it and counterattack with my own guys and slash draw a card that does something. But if they start P-firing stuff, I'm going to be gaining life off the groves, and so it's not going to kill me very quickly. All right, come on, deck. Okay, there's a card that does something. All right, so we get in for 4 here. So they're gonna let me gain a life and pick off the boo token. I'm gonna gain even more life if they fire that boo with. Okay, they're just getting the punishing fire back in hand. Well, I'm fetching to thin here, and then I'm icing their endurance. And hoping to draw something. But this ice is, I mean, pretty good. If I draw a card, or if they miss, both those outcomes are pretty good for me. Well, I guess it's not a complete miss, is what you'd have to say about this Elvish Spirit Guide. So they can fire the endurance, and then get back the punishing fire, yeah. We just do gain a bunch of life at least. So, you know, I've just got to draw a card that does something here. We've got another chance at it though on my next draw step here. Okay, another Elvish Spirit Guide. So those are pretty terrible against my opponent's punishing fires. And yet I have to play them out. Because otherwise the punishing fire just goes at our head. Alright, the Spirit Guides are in. They're going to recycle punishing fire. Yeah, there goes Elvish Spirit Guide number 1. They've got more land, so they can really start machine gunning with this Grove of the Burn Willows here. Well, what we'd really like to draw here is like Lorien Revealed. Well, they got the Ketria Triumph. Maybe they're just out of Volcanic Islands. Simian Spirit Guide. Well, that doesn't really improve the situation. Well, we're just going to get our whole board nuked by this punishing fire. Alright, there's a P-fire on one Spirit Guide. They're going to keep doing the machine gun thing. I mean, the deck's only 50% mana, so... And, well, including that 50% mana is a bunch of Spirit Guides, which we've been drawing. But there's also Lorien Revealed, 4 of them. And there's also any of the non-land Spirit Guides draws are... I mean, Ice is fine. I guess Brazen Borrower doesn't really do the most. A life from the loam for the opponent here. Man, if we could just draw a card that does something, like Lorien Revealed would be a great one. Brazen Borrower, I suppose, is just a little weak, is the only thing about it. Okay. This, I would say this qualifies as a draw. Okay. I mean, I guess, I mean, they can take out... One 4/4 per turn cycle the way they've got it right now. Ooh, they just drew Uro though. So now we're gonna lose. That's unfortunate. Uro is crazily good here. I mean, I guess Violent Outburst could maybe get the job done if we hit that. I did keep the 5-lander to start this game. And I guess that's the way it goes when you keep the 5-lander. Alright, the opponent's passing it back. So... I guess they're not passing it back yet. I think only really Violent Outburst, I think, is the, like, one way. I mean, we just need to get more power happening. I guess Shardless Agent would be okay. An ice. Okay, well, that's not a terrible one. I can ice the Uro and maybe draw another card that does something. They have Spell Snare. Wow. All right. Well, there's really not much I can do then. Well, the good news is the opponent is chewing up a bunch of their clock. In post board, we have a bunch of great cards. Like Magus of the Moon and Endurance. There's a Petty Theft. Uro's getting in, and yeah, I really don't know what I can't really block this thing. Well, at least the suffering should end quickly-ish here. Wasteland. Well, that doesn't really do anything against their Life from the Loam. I guess I can attack with this Rhino. And they can Punishing Fire it. Alright, EOT. They're doing some more machine gunning with the Grove. I mean, I could Wasteland them off the Grove, but they have Life from the Loam. I mean, they're attacking for 9 here, and they're going to win, so. But I think they did exile their... No, they still have Life from the Loam in hand. Okay. Well, I should have thought about it. All right, well, I'm inexplicably lagging here, so I guess I'm just going to... Oh, okay. Just going to make the opponent do their thing. As long as I'm not about to time out. Okay, we're dead. Okay, so I think I am comfortable once again boarding out forces like the Scam matchup. I mean, although Force of Negation hitting Loam or P-Fire potentially good. If I want to keep in all those Force Negations, I got to find 3 other cards to cut. I mean, Ice probably isn't actually that important. I mean, it's just, we'll have more bombs now. So that's probably fine. I think I can make do without the ice. Oh, we get to bring one more card in. I mean, it's not a Daze deck, so the Spirit Guides are less important. All right, we'll make do with 2 Fire and Ice. All right, this looks like a fine hand. Lots of bombs. That's pretty much where we like to be. So we will suspend Crashing Footfalls and pass. All right, the opponent's gonna turn 1 Grove and pass. Drawing a land there is nice, so we can start jamming our boys next turn. And the opponent is just making inexplicable plays. Hopefully I don't lose this one. But I guess they're stuck on mana over there. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and jam Shardless Agent. Let's hope it works. And even if this gets forced, it should not be that bad. It does get forced, but we're still in there with Shardless Agent. They're going to get back the P-Fire. I mean, I could be trying to Endurance that P-Fire out of the way. But, I mean, we just have another Shardless Agent to load up with, and if they P-Fire the Shardless Agent, it's just not really... Like, these Endurances can hit Uro later and whatnot. As well as protect our own Crashing Footfalls from Shardless Agent, or I mean Surgical Extraction. So let's reload. Okay, and they're good to concede. All right. Okay, on the draw for game 3. I don't think we're going to run any changes. I mean, these Magus of the Moons are not super exciting against their P-Fires, but there's places where it could be good. In the challenge metagame, people are always running 12 post, and 12 post doesn't play... Like, they don't play Dismember, which is their only real answer. But they do play, like, Boseiju to answer the Blood Moon. So for the League metagame, you know, maybe it's silly just not to be playing Blood Moon. Okay, the opponent's playing Abundant Growth. Well, I'm gonna suspend Crashing Footfalls. Brainstorm from the opponent. Alright, so they're just gonna pass here, so I'm probably gonna Wasteland this Volcanic Island. Or I'm gonna play Shardless Agent. Yup. I mean, they might have some kind of force effect here, but... I mean, I suppose they could just have Spell Pierce. Maybe I should have thought about this harder. Okay, it is Force of Negation, so that's fine. Those kind of trades I don't mind. Okay, the opponent does have a carpet. Makes Wasteland less exciting. We'll just have to try to minimize the effectiveness of it. They don't do anything with the mana. Lorien Revealed, okay. Get in for 2. And... yeah, I guess I'm holding up Endurance, and then we're probably gonna play Lorien Revealed next turn. We'll get a Taiga here, and then we can Wasteland. We'll play Wasteland, and then, you know, 4 mana plus Elvish Spirit Guide. Play this Lorien Revealed. I could try to get more fancy with the timing on this, but I mean, they have 2 cards in hand. Getting the beatdown going is probably good. And this does slow down the Uro by taking away their graveyard. All right, we will shuffle in their graveyard. Rhinos are on 1. Okay. Let's get in for 5 and see if they're doing anything. Oh man, I actually can't play Lorien Revealed because I don't have the double blue. Okay. I guess in light of that, I'm gonna Wasteland their Volcanic Island and play Elvish Spirit Guide. So they do make a mana off the carpet this time, and it's a Sylvan Library. Well, that's probably going to be too little too late, but we'll see if they have a force here for this Crashing Footfalls. They do, so they at least don't have any cards in hand. We get to put them down to 4 life. And I am just going to petty theft this Sylvan Library and minimize their draws here. And I expect that'll be a wrap. Not too much, I think, that they can have here with 1 more card. And they can redeploy Sylvan Library, but that does nothing. Okay. All right, I'm glad we persevered there. Okay, on the play for round 4. And, I mean, usually I like to suspend Crashing Footfalls turn 1. And then we have Force backup. So our opponent has finishes with the initiative, Grixis artifacts, or, you know, like basically some kind of 8-cast thing, and Naya Depths. They could be on almost anything here. I mean, this is kind of a slow hand. All right, this is maybe just a little lacking in action. And suspend this Crashing Footfalls, and then we just sit around. We're really hoping to draw more action. Like the good draws from here are Cascaders, Minsc and Boo. Like maybe Hullbreacher or Endurance. So that is like 10 or 12 draws out of. I guess Brazen Borrower and Fire and Ice and Wasteland. Potentially okay. I mean, it's just a little. These Spirit Guides don't do anything, is the thing about this kind of hand. So I guess we're mulliganing here. All right. Well, this hand at least has some potential ninja power. Or, you know, we can get our opponent with Hullbreacher maybe. Opponent's gonna play a Chrome Mox. I mean, I guess we're gonna let it resolve here. So is it Goblins that we're up against? Goblin Lackey. Okay. So what I can do here is fire the Goblin Lackey and then Wasteland the Tomb. I mean, they look like they're about to cavern into something. I mean, alternatively, if they do cavern into something, it's like a Goblin Ringleader. The Wasteland on their Tomb is probably going to be good. I guess I'm going to take my draw step. I can still fire in Wasteland. So we're drawing another land here. Okay. Well, since we have more lands coming, I mean, I think the play has to be to fire the Goblin Lackey using the Elvish Spirit Guide and then Wasteland the Ancient Tomb. And I think Volcanic Island is fine, but I'd rather have Taiga. That would help me play Endurance potentially. Maybe I mean, we definitely have more blue mana coming. Maybe we'll just get the Taiga. Then I will fire. Well, I'll Wasteland the Ancient Tomb. And I mean, I guess we'll maybe they'll play another 1/1 Goblin before attacking. All right, they're going in for the attack. They are not gonna walk into a fire 2-for-1. So the fire resolves. Do they have like another Ancient Tomb? Well, they pretty much do. A Goblin Matron. I probably just want to Force of Will this. All right, well, Hullbreacher's been good against all these blue decks, but not so much here. I think the first hand probably would not have been great. We would have been forcing the Goblin Lackey. They are just passing the turn, though. So we're not out of it yet. If we can draw Cascaders from here, that would be swell. We'll at least get this Hullbreacher down and attacking if they do nothing else. And City of Traders is at least not very good here. I mean, they have to sacrifice it if they play another land. So if they do get like a Goblin Ringleader, they're not going to have a bunch of mana to play the cards they get off the Ringleader. Well, I could hold on to this Simian Spirit Guide in case we draw Minsc and Boo, but I think it's best just to maximize our board power here. I mean, there's only 2 Minsc and Boos in the deck. Well, here's a Chrome Mox for the opponent. So we're gonna see some Ringleaders here would be my prediction. Or maybe we're gonna see some Muxai. It looks like it's going to be a Muxus, and with this being 6 mana. So that'll probably end the game. Unless they, completely brick. Well, they hit a Rabble Master, so they pretty much bricked. So we could draw like a Violent Outburst here, or a Shardless Agent, and still be in this thing. Or we could draw a land. Well, I think we just have to sit back here. So hopefully they brick. I guess I should have just played the land rather than pretending like I have nothing and fetch to thin. Okay, well, I think I need to take out the Rabble Master, the 1/1 token, and just take 6. Come on, deck. Let's draw something. Fire and Ice. And it's not nothing. So I'm probably going to ice their Muxus here. If only we had drawn Violent Outburst. I wish I was doing that. I guess there's no reason to do it. I mean, they could, play City of Traders, play another Muxus. I can do this at their beginning of combat step. But I might want to tap like the second Muxus if they had somehow played a Muxus there. Well, a Wasteland is another brick. Okay, but here's some Rhinos. So we're still in it here, putting the opponent to 10. All right, they're probably going to draw something at some point here. A Cavern of Souls. So is this where they play the second Muxus? Goblin Lackey. All right, well, that's not so bad. Force of Will. So if I attack with everything, they've got to... I don't think we're attacking with everything. I'll just attack with the Rhinos. If I attack with everything, they can just have Goblin Lackey, block the Hullbreacher, Muxus, block a Shardless Agent. Maybe I should attack with everything. I mean, I guess Goblin Lackey doesn't really matter at this point. They can play whatever they're going to play. So if they if I attack with everything, they gotta block 2 of the guys. Otherwise, they're dead, right? They could block. Muxus can... if I attack with everything, well, they could block Rhino token with Muxus, and then Goblin Lackey doesn't have to block. They take 9. And they just have a Lackey chilling in play, but Lackey really doesn't matter anyway. All right, I'm just going to attack with everything here and see what they want to do. All right, so Lackey's off the board. And I guess 1 Muxus is like the only thing that would be really bad here. I'm going to Wasteland the Cavern. If they played an uncounterable Muxus, we might have a problem. But otherwise, like Ringleader, that still only does like 7. That's hard to imagine them killing me with a Ringleader. Okay, and they just concede. Well, I'm pretty happy winning after mulliganing that first hand and drawing some Hullbreachers. Yeah, all right. So this is a match I've spent a bunch of time, thinking about how I want to sideboard here. And so the Hullbreachers obviously come out. Yeah, so I think, well, Brazen, I think Endurance comes out. And so the whole premise here was that I wanted Force of Negation to counter Chrome Moxes. It's probably still true. Now Brazen Borrower can bounce Chalice of the Void. But I guess isn't really super exciting. And my plan here was just to rely like on Minsc and Boo if they have Chalice of the Void and Fury, Brotherhood's End. Like maybe I'll just play with no Brazen Borrowers, and we'll just have 1 Force of Vigor to pick off Chalice of the Voids and mana artifacts. I mean, I could go down to, could do the 2-2 split. But man, I think Force of Vigor is pretty bad in this matchup, and that hitting those mana rocks is okay. All right, let's try it. This proves to be a disaster. I guess I can bring in another Force of Vigor. But bringing in Force of Vigor against the deck, 2 for wanting yourself to answer Chalice when they're playing a swarm of goblins, doesn't really seem like where we want to be. All right, now this hand is okay, but it completely eats it to Chalice. I mean, it's a turn 2 situation with the Rhinos. And so do I want to keep this and accept that we're just going to lose to Chalice? I mean, it is game 2, so I can kind of take a chance with it. It does have Wasteland. I mean, I think this hand, I mean, how much better than turn 2 Rhinos are we hoping for here? A hand with like Force of Will for Chalice and like Fury or Brotherhood's End or something. But it does just completely eat it to Chalice of the Void is the thing. Maybe 2 Force of Vigors, 2 Fawns would have been okay. Force of Negation is what we mean by Fawn. This one's a doozy of a hand, huh? Alright, I guess I'm just gonna keep it and we can lose to Chalice on 0. They did think for a second about whether or not they were keeping their hand. A Trinisphere. See, Force of Vigor doesn't even help against that. So against their 3-sphere, I want to Wasteland them. So I'm going to do that. Now I could exile of a Spirit Guide to get this Crashing Footfalls suspended. And we do have the mana. Yeah, I think I'm doing that. Because we have 3 mana between the Lorien Revealed when that thing comes off of suspend to hardcast it. And so we're just going to hope that our opponent's stuck for a little bit and that we draw a red card for this Fury. Okay, Elvish Spirit Guide's an okay one. Well, the opponent's up to 3 mana, so this could get dicey. But they don't have a 3 mana play, it seems. So I'm gonna... I guess I want the double red in case we do end up hardcasting this Fury. I mean, we could draw Spirit Guides and make it happen that way. And we can't get the Taiga off the Lorien Revealed, so I got it there off the fetch. There's Force Negation too late. I guess Force of Vigor would be better here. I could play a Shardless Agent, but we don't get the Cascade, so I'm just going to not bother. And they are continuing to pass, so I wonder what they've got in hand over there. Our Rhinos are on 2. Okay. Lorien Revealed. Well, that's going to mean that we can play Fury. We'll have another Volcanic Island and Furies at our disposal. Though we're probably playing Crashing Footfalls this turn, which will use up our 3 mana. The opponent's just going to do nothing over there. Well, let's Island Cycle the Lorien Revealed. So we're going to play this Crashing Footfalls. Another land. Well, it's not terrible. We have the mana to like Fury next turn and then Shardless Agent and then pay 3 mana for the Crashing Footfalls the turn afterwards. There's a name sticker Goblin for the opponent. Obviously, we can't answer this. So do they just have Muxus here? I mean, that would be pretty good. Another name sticker Goblin. Okay. Here's the Muxus. Maybe they'll brick again. I feel like we got pretty lucky on these. Well, they don't have the most insane board position imaginable. Matron. So maybe another Bombardier here. That would be good. Well, we're probably dead at this point, sadly. A Goblin War Chief, huh? Yep, that's probably gonna put us in the dead zone. They did not attack with a War Chief for some reason, but I'm sure it's more than enough here. They're picking off a Rhino. Muxus is a 9/9. Okay. So if I block Muxus, I take 8. I don't block Muxus, I mean, it's... If suppose I block the Bombardier... The Bombardier is Menace, so we're not blocking the Bombardier. So I could block a name sticker Goblin and take 6 and 9. It's 15, and then they can just fling something at me. So yeah, we're blocking the Muxus here. Let's get our chump block on. And then they just don't use the second Bombardier, okay? So we're gonna get to play Fury and pick off like Bombardier plus War Chief. It might be worth not fetching here to not go below 10 life. I guess, well, if we pick off the Bombardier and the War Chief, we're just taking 6, and all right, I'm just gonna hope that we can get there. So let's grab, I guess Island is fine in case we somehow get mooned. Tap these guys for red. Here comes the Fury. Just take out the Broadside Bombardier and the War Chief. And then we're gonna take 6. Yeah, we can chump block the Muxus, but that's pretty much it, sadly. So yeah, I don't know how we're gonna make it through here, but I mean, this gives us the best position to win in case something goes crazy. Fury for the opponent. Exiling Simian Spirit Guide. All right, well that, yeah, now they can easily attack for 10, so they got it. Cool. Okay. Well, maybe we'll just do 2 Force Negations and 2 Force of Vigors. And then we can still force some Chalice effects here. So this is a turn 1 Rhinos. I guess that has to be good enough, and we'll just hope to draw some kind of follow-up. Like Brotherhood's End would be a sick one. All right, so we get in there with 10 power. I mean, the thing about the Goblins matchup is this doesn't really feel good enough, but I guess you have to do it. Yeah, here's a name sticker, and I just can't do anything about it. At least it's not for 6, so they can't immediately Muxus. The Goblin Ringleader, okay. So what did we hit here? Just a Goblin Lackey, okay. So they do get to put that Goblin Lackey into play. Okay. All right, deck Brotherhood's End off the top. Ooh, Fire and Ice. Now that's a pretty good one. All right, I'm just going to attack with everything and see what the opponent wants to do. Okay, I like this trade. All right, they play a basic mountain. And a Broadside Bombardier. That's a pretty good one. I guess I'm going to be firing the Goblin Lackey in response. I'll get a Taiga. And then if they want to attack with this Bombardier, they're free to do so, but we at least have them at 6. So I guess I'd be happy with like a land here just to play the Simian Spirit Guide as a body, but you know, a Cascader is going to be the best case scenario. Crashing Footfalls does not do anything though. We at least have them to 3. They're in a precarious position with that Ancient Tomb. But man, I don't know if we're going to be able to cross the finish line if they have good cards. Well, they have a second mountain and a Battlecry Goblin. Okay, so they can attack with a Bombardier. Now they're going to fling the Battlecry Goblin at my Rhino. They are. Okay. Well, we at least get to attack with Shardless Agent and turn off this Ancient Tomb. Still a couple turns to go on this Rhino. Force of Vigor. Completely useless. Okay, well, we've got them at 1. Cavern of Souls, that's a scary one. But they at least can't use the Ancient Tomb. Blood Moon. Well, of all the things they could have had, that is not a terrible... That's not the worst thing that could have happened. Although it does turn on their Ancient Tomb now, doesn't it? Wasteland. Okay. So now I get to attack with Shardless Agent. They have to block. And we'll play Simian Spirit Guide. Okay, the opponent scoops it up. Well, they didn't even play Chalice of the Void. I mean, if that had been Force of Negation instead of Force of Vigor, I would be able to force this Blood Moon. That was a crazy game against Goblins. I guess I feel a little bit lucky to have won. Okay, on the draw for round 5. And we've got a hand that can do the thing. Violent Outburst or turn to Minsc. Basic Forest, Noble Hierarch from the opponent. Okay. So we don't have to worry about Daze or Force of Will, so that's exciting. A Fire and Ice. That's not a bad draw. Well, I'm going to play the basic mountain and put us into a position to sneak attack some Rhinos into play here. Off some Spirit Guides into Violent Outburst. I mean, if I got a chance to turn to this Minsc, I'd be pretty happy, but probably we're going to Violent Outburst here and then take out some X1s with this fire, and that's probably fine. Are they going to attack? They're not. So we could wait and turn to Minsc and pick off the Noble Hierarch and draw a card and save this Fire and Ice. Which I kind of like because this uses up all our mana. We play the thing that costs more first, and then we can turn 3 Violent Outburst, and I think that's the play that I'm usually inclined to make in these situations. So I'll do the island cycle, and I think I'll just get the basic island here. I mean, if they have a removal spell suddenly for my Minsc, this is how I could get punished. They are holding up black mana, so maybe they have like Orcish Bowmaster or something. Alright, I think I am actually just going to hold up here and see if they Orcish Bowmaster on my end step. which they kind of have to do if that's what they're holding. And then we still have Surprise Violent Outburst. And Minsc and Boo next turn. We have the mana for all that stuff. Okay, so Endurance is the surprise play. Well, that doesn't really matter. I mean, the only thing is we could get got by a natural order. Well, we'll let the Endurance resolve. We're not countering that. Maybe I got too ahead of myself and I should have just Violent Outbursted on turn 1 when the getting was good. If they're playing basic Swamp, though, I would imagine they're probably not on natural order here. I think I'll just take the 4 and Violent Outburst on their end step, unless something else happens that I have to worry about. Alright, so Crashing Footfalls is in. Shardless Agent. I just don't want to get got by natural order. But maybe there's no stopping that at this point. Natural order is the one thing that can beat me. Well, let's see if anything happens here. Otherwise, I'm going to fire this Noble Hierarch on their upkeep. And maybe Petty Theft that Endurance, too. I feel like if I Petty Theft this Endurance, I don't know what they could possibly do to win this game. But it doesn't seem like they have natural order. I mean, I guess they could have Legolas's quick reflexes, but they haven't so far. 4 cards in hand. I mean, I just have the Shardless Agent to play next turn anyway. So I think this seems like a fine tempo play. Okay, the Petty Theft happens. Let's see what they want to do next here. I mean, they could play something like Knight of the Reliquary, but it's only a 4/4 and we're loading up with more Rhinos. I think I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, and I should have just Violent Outbursted on turn 1. Trying to play a little too carefully. They do crack the Verdant Catacombs, though. There's the Ignoble Hierarch. And there's the Endurance. Well, Violent Outburst would be a good one. Or Wooded Foothills. I can play the Minsc and Boo pre-combat. And then they have to block with something. That's probably just the best strategy here. Play the Minsc and Boo pre-combat. And then... yeah, everything has trample, so let's just do that. That seems like it'll put us into a good position. All right, I got the Taiga, so I could potentially play an Endurance later. Here's the Minsc Boo. I mean, I could wait till after they attack here, but they probably just block a Rhino with Endurance. Okay, well, they're ready to concede. All right, I'll try not to be in my head so much for the next one. All right, so for the Cradle control, Fury, Minsc Boo, Endurance, and Brotherhood's End all seem like good ones. You just gotta watch out for that natural order. So I don't know, maybe the 2 Endurances are fine. I mean, they're not a Chalice of the Void deck, so we don't need to... I don't think they're a Chalice of the Void deck anyway. So maybe Fury and 2 Brotherhood's Ends are good enough. You definitely want Fire and Ice. I don't think we can board out any of the Force Negations. I want Endurance to shrink the graveyard against Knight of the Reliquary or Fiend Artisan. All right, let's just do this. Okay, well, this hand's a little slow, but I mean, probably Fire and Ice on turn 2 is good, and then we get to start playing Rhinos, so I don't see how I can send this back. All right, Windswept Heath from the opponent and pass. Well, there's a start I can probably keep up with. Okay, Force of Negation. I mean, that's not the most exciting draw, but that is something that could be good. I'll just play a Wooded Foothills and pass. Probably fetching the basic mountain here. We don't want to get Wastelanded. All right, the opponent has a Scrubland. And they have a Thoughtseize. It doesn't really seem worth playing Force of Negation on, so I'll let it resolve. I mean, they're going to take a Cascader here. I'd pretty much have to Force of Negation pitching a Cascader. So I'll just let them take a Cascader and not 2-for-1 myself here. All right, they go with a Shardless Agent, which probably makes sense since that one does not pitch to Force of Negation. I'll thin my deck and get the basic mountain. I'm pretty sure to want that. Okay, we draw another land. All right, well, we can keep fetching basics at least, is what that means. Well, I'm definitely getting basic island here. I mean, it's we may need to hardcast this Force of Negation. But here we go. We're getting some movement on the old Windswept Heath. There's a Noble Hierarch. All right, well, I'm definitely going to fire the Noble Hierarch off a basic island. Shardless Agent. I mean, that's a pretty good one. So do I just want to jam that? I don't really know what my opponent could do that matters. I think I'm just going to jam the Shardless Agent. They're really not in natural order territory here. I mean, there's not too much harm in just Violent Outbursting this turn. They're already at 16 life. All right, I'm just gonna hold up the Violent Outburst here. I guess it was a silly fetch and that now I can't hardcast Force of Negation. Although I'd almost certainly would want a Violent Outburst this turn. And if I'm using Force of Negation, you know, play it for free. All right, it's another Ignoble Hierarch for the opponent. So we'll play this Violent Outburst. Get out this Crashing Footfalls. Draw Simian Spirit Guide. All right. Well, I think I just have to hold up the Force of Negation here. Let's see, a Swords to Plowshares. Okay. Well, that being the case, all right, I'm gonna hold up Force Negation here. I mean, just natural order into Atraxa would be bad news. And otherwise, I mean, next turn we can Shardless Agent and then hold up Force Negation with the Simian Spirit Guide, you know, to make 6 mana to let a Shardless Agent and Force of Negation. All right, we draw another Simian Spirit Guide. Okay, well, we'll attack with this Rhino. An Orcish Bowmaster. Well, that doesn't matter too much. They can only deal 3 damage to this thing unless they have another Bowmaster. In any case, that all does not trade very favorably. And then we're just leaving open the basic island to make sure we don't get wastelanded off of this Force of Negation. Here's a Crashing Footfalls. All right, the Rhinos are in here, so it's the last call for the opponent. They need Thoughtseize plus Natural Order and another land to make it all happen. Otherwise, I mean, I don't think Grist or any other some such would do it. I guess like Knight of the Reliquary plus fetch land to make it a 5/5 would be an okay one. Okay, and the opponent is ready to concede. Okay, all right, well. This build was pretty good, got a trophy. We beat Grixis Delver, Dimir Scam, Temur Midrange, Goblins, and Abzan Maverick, Abzan Cradle Control. We didn't see too much of their deck. It seemed like the basic mountain was a fine addition over the 4th Wasteland, although Wasteland, you know, seemed pretty good. There was that game against Dimir Scam, or maybe I used Wasteland a little bit too aggressively. Yeah, Hullbreacher and Endurance in the main deck were pretty good. I did not miss the old Murky Reach. Although, you know, Murky Reach will always have a soft spot in my heart. The game against Goblins, that deck is just such a problem. But my sideboarding strategy seemed like it really didn't matter, as they didn't play any Chalice of the Voids, and we did not draw any Brotherhood's Ends. But I certainly didn't... you know, miss having more Force of Vigors in the sideboard. So, I mean, that was cool. Yeah, maybe this extra Minsc and Boo in the sideboard isn't needed. And then for league play, probably Blood Moon is just better than Magus of the Moon. Although getting to attack for 2 a bunch of times against Dimir Scam was fun. All right, well, we'll wrap it up and leave it there. You know, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy Rhino's content. All right, thank you very much.